In business, advertising is a must. LinkedIn influencer and Appetis founder and creative CEO shares her story and how her business empowers and educates business owners on the necessity of advertising.
You're an Air Force veteran, if I'm correct. Tell us a little about your background and how did you get to become the entrepreneur that you are now?
Born and raised in Houston, Texas. Hated it. I'm like a third generation Hispanic. Family was very traditional Hispanic. And so the whole game plan for me was to graduate high school and get married. That wasn't my game plan. So I wanted to join the military because I fell in love with the commercials. Be all you can be. I really did fall in love with it, okay? And I actually talked to a Marine recruiter. When I talked to the recruiter, he told me to go to Air Force. He said, girl, Marine's too tough for you. You need to go to Air Force. So I signed up and I went with the knowing that I was going to go in for 20 years. I was going to be all I can be, travel the world and do all this great stuff. And what happens? I work on missiles. I end up in the middle of the USA and Missouri. And I'm like, oh my God, It was a great experience, but I think a year and a half after I got into it, I knew it wasn't going to be 20 years. I love the experience. I love meeting the people and the whole, feel of the brotherhood and sisterhood. That was awesome. But I knew that my education was going to be my top of mind. And so I used the military for all the experiences that anybody gets out of it. I mean, I matured immediately. Coming from a very traditional Hispanic family, I was really sheltered. And so going into the military really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I was not exposed to, even in Houston, Texas, And so did the 4 years, worked on the missiles, and so I followed a military boy to Tennessee and then started my TV career. And so I got into an ad agency. And then from there, I got into TV, started selling TV ads. And then a year and a half later, they promoted me. I became a manager. And then I went to 5 different major markets. And I repped ABC, NBC, CBS, Telemundo, Fox, just about everyone you can think of.
And then all of a sudden, you linked up with Facebook. And how has that experience been?
I started Advertise in 2014, okay? And my whole reason for starting the company was to market to small businesses. In the 27 years that I sold TV and trained and coached my team, I always heard, I can't afford to advertise. I don't care what market, okay? And it doesn't matter what size business. They always said, I can't afford to advertise. So in corporate America, TV, they would walk away from that business. Okay, and so when I was ready to create my business, I wanted to go after that market, the underserved market, the people that really, really needed it. Okay, and that's the marketplace that I go after, is a small business owner who says, I don't have any money to advertise. Okay, so we use Facebook because it's efficient, And so if someone absolutely does not have money, then we'll coach and train them how to do it themselves. But if they have some money, then we use whatever resource we have and use whatever little money they have and stretch it as far as we can. So Facebook, after so long, Facebook approached us and said, hey, we'd love to have you as an advertising partner. We'll coach, we'll train, and mentor you. And so they take me to Chicago every so often and train us and coach us so that we can help more businesses.
So is that an initiative specifically for veterans that you linked in with?
It's actually for people of color. So we got selected because we are a minority-owned business.
Now that you've been here at the Military Influencer Conference, MIC, DC.
The very first day I went to the podcasting event that was 3 hours, I could have left after that and said, you know what, I got my money back and then some. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was amazing. And so that workshop alone was my first exposure to this. And I was like, yes, this is awesome.
So what are some of the biggest takeaways that you have?
So probably some really, really big takeaways is I went to a networking event and there's a few of my competitors here, And so I don't feel like their competitors, okay? Because I was telling somebody the other day is you can't be afraid of mingling with the people that do some of the same stuff you do. There's enough business out there for everyone. But what I do love is learning from my competitors, you know? So all the tips and trades and learning that on our social, in the social places, you know? When we did the happy hour and I'm talking to a few of them and they're telling me to do this or to do that. That to me is like big, because you're learning different stuff in these workshops, but you're learning from people too, which is amazing. Do you know what I mean? And so the connections and learning from people is probably like over the top here. And I think a lot of that has to do with the whole brother sisterhood, like where it's easy to talk to each other, you know?
How do you give back to the community?
So we do a lot of free workshops. So it doesn't matter if the business owner is in Milwaukee or they're remote. So we do a lot of webinars and actual workshops. So I'm actually the president of the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber, okay? And so we do a lot of workshops for the Veterans Chamber. And all we're doing is teaching people how to run their own social media, you know, the tips and the tricks and the things, so that if they can't afford it or they don't want to spend the money to do that, we're going to give them the skills so that they can do it right. Because I would rather see a business do it right than not, you know, didn't do it wrong or not do it at all. And so we do a lot of education and advocating for businesses. And the veteran businesses, of course, is my passion.